7 correct scores. 7? What? What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. As you saw in my brief introduction, I got 7 correct scores in this weekend. That has never ever happened to me before. 6 correct from the Championship alone, and the 1 early Premier League game, which was Manchester City and West Ham. But enough of blowing my own trumpet here. But here are all the correct scores from you guys commenting your score predictions, and well done, a lot of you did. Shout out goes to Creeperboy043. You got 5 correct scores, so fair play to you. You also did really well in this weekend. This is what the Lexus Hall of Fame looks like now, and now things are getting interesting because it looked like Joshua Freed was going to run away with it now, but I've closed the gap to 2 points. Midweek is a big week because we've got not only Championship and a title decider probably, but we've also have got some Premier League fixtures in midweek as well. But if you guys like what you see, please make sure you do hit that like button. That'll be terrifically appreciated. You guys smashed it in the last video. 20 likes is unbelievable. Let's see if we can get to 20 likes for this video as well. That'd be absolutely amazing if you can do so. And if you're new around here, welcome to the channel. And if you can do, please hit that red subscribe button. All of that would really make my day. And please turn notifications on if you don't want to miss a single video of mine. And please share my video to as many people as you can. All of that would really make my day. But without any further ado, let's go through this weekend's games. So the East Midlands Derby, I got correctly predicted, and that set the tone of my correct predictions. It ended as a 1-1 draw. And to be honest with you, when I saw the beginning part of the game, I thought it was going to be Derby that were going to actually be the better side in this game. They were the ones asking the questions in the beginning part of the game. Graham Shinney had a shot which was saved by Bree Samba, but it was Nottingham Forest that did take the lead. They started to crawl into the game. It was great work by Rotherham to head the ball to a James Garner completely unmarked, and it was poor from Derby because they committed men forward but they couldn't track back and keep him marked. His shot was a bit tame and Marshall did let it pass through him, so it was poor on Marshall's part. But James Garner wouldn't mind. It's his first goal for Nottingham Forest. David Marshall did have to go off and get replaced by Caleb Roos. Whether it's an injury to his back, I do wish him a speedy recovery. Caleb Roos did make a very important save and almost gifted Glenn Murray a very easy tap in, but he managed to recover the ball in time. And in that second half, Nottingham Forest were doing absolutely brilliantly in managing the game. And a stat I couldn't quite believe, Derby managed 0 points from conceding first, and Nottingham Forest had won a maximum points when they scored first. So I thought, okay, this is going to be a 1-0 win for Nottingham Forest. But Colin Kazim-Richards ripped the stats and set his own way with an unbelievable half volley just inside the box, past the reach of Bree Samba. It's poor by Ribeira's par, who probably should have done a bit better. But Colin Kazim-Richards with an absolute peach of a strike. Both of these sides couldn't really want to draw really if they wanted to set any ambitions for the season, so it doesn't really suit both of these sides. But it was a fantastic derby from minute 1 to minute 90. Couldn't fault it. Then we have a long streak of home wins, and I dare say I remember in my score predictions for this game, the reverse fixture of Watford Bournemouth was very dramatic and feisty. Now, if I told you that game was feisty, this takes the biscuit. It's almost comparing Conor McGregor to Mike Tyson with the difference of magnitude, because wow, this game had it all, really. I mean, it was a boring first half, to tell you the truth. Only 1 shot on target in the first half. The second half was when things started to get back into life. Bournemouth had an opportunity from Dan Zuma, which Blackburn made a great save for. And then in the other side, literally seconds later, Tom Cleverley had an opportunity, which Begovic made a save for. I was like, okay, we're now starting to see both sides starting to play out. Then the controversy. Nathaniel Chandler supposedly fouls Jefferson Lerma, and what this does for him, he gets a cumulative amount of yellow cards, meaning he cannot play the next 2 games for Watford, which are against Sheffield Wednesday and Wycombe. But it was a load of controversy because it looked like he barely touched him. But from the resulting free kick, literally a long looping ball, found Danjuma and he scored it past Barkman, who'd be disappointed he didn't save it with his leg. That made it 1-0 to Bournemouth. And that turned out to be the only goal. And what Bournemouth did really, really well with, actually, they really restricted the quality and pace of Ismaila Sarr. They managed to cut out all potential opportunities of Watford cutting inside the box. They were defensively solid. Cameron Carter-Vickers, for me, deserves a shout out because he was absolutely terrific, managing to not take any chances and booting the ball away. But the biggest talking point was the final few minutes of the game, where João Pedro got a second yellow card for sliding into Jefferson Lerma, and then Jack Wilshere decides to have it out with Tom Cleverley, and Tom Cleverley gets booked, and Jack Wilshere gets a second yellow card for a red card also. And it's a missed opportunity for Watford to put some pressure onto Brentford and Swansea. As with Bournemouth, it really reignites their chance to get into the top 6. A really big win for them. And honestly, I could watch this game on repeat. It was fantastic, especially in the second half. And then we see a Barnsley side that just simply cannot stop winning. That's 5 wins in a row to Valérien Ismaël and Barnsley, with a 2-1 victory over Millwall. Another score I did get correctly. And this ends Millwall's 9-game unbeaten streak. I thought it was going to be a really, really free-flowing game where we got 2 goals in the opening 6 minutes. Collie Woodrow with the first. It was from an Alex Mert free kick, and it gets deflected and no one really defends it. Collie Woodrow managing to score his first goal with a goal drought of about 7 games. But Collie Woodrow taps in the important goal that made it 1-0 to Barnsley. But then literally minutes later, Millwall equalise, and it's Mason Bennett who manages to get the goal in the end. It was from a really fast break, actually, and Barnsley were pretty poor defensively, but it was a fantastic bit of play for Millwall, actually. In terms of Barnsley, they definitely had the more opportunity. It was about patient play, and eventually they managed to get their second goal, which was a very nicely taken goal by Michael Healy, literally in the top corner of the goal. With Barnsley, now they're 7th place. They could have a chance to be in this top 6 if they continue their run of form. It was put a little bit in jeopardy following that Millwall did equalise very quickly, but Barnsley, I dare say, overall, were by far the better team, and they did deserve the 3 points. As with Millwall, their performances weren't as strong as they were when they sustained their unbeaten streak, but definitely I'm seeing a side that are more organised and not conceding as many goals. And I think they can definitely pick themselves up very, very quickly. And then we see Birmingham's first home win in 13 home games with a crucial 2-1 victory over Queen's Park Rangers. 2 goals in 2 minutes in the final 10 minutes of the game. It was one of the maddest comebacks we've seen this season. Queen's Park Rangers took the lead against the run of play, dare I say, because I thought Birmingham were by far the better team in that first half. Gary Gardner had a shot which was well saved by Dieng, and Birmingham were playing with some real positivity, actually, and were a little bit unfortunate that they just lacked that cutting edge in goal. But then Queen's Park Rangers, practically with their first opportunity, made their chance count. It was a fantastic ghosting run by Charlie Austin. And I thought it was going to be more sorrow for Birmingham and more questions to be answered. But Aitor Karanka made a couple of substitutions, and they made a humongous effect on this game. They got their equaliser from a header from Pedersen, and for their second goal, step up Alan Halilovic, his first goal for Birmingham City, with an absolute beauty in the bottom left corner. That made it 2-1, and it was great play by Ivan Sanchez as well, to managing to find Halilovic in that space as well. This really helps Birmingham. They're now 5 points above the relegation zone, and this could really, really ease their chances in terms of getting their survival. As with Queen's Park Rangers right now, I did say in my predictions that Queen's Park Rangers performances have been dropping a little bit, and we're seeing this a lot with championship clubs. When they get a good run of form, but when we see one bad performance, it follows by another bad performance. Sometimes you need a defeat just to kind of spruce your team back up to life and to reignite that urgency and their performance levels. And then Blackburn's losing streak ends, but it still results without a win, with Blackburn with only 3 wins and 13, only managed a home draw against Coventry City. 1-1 the final score was. The mighty have fallen. Back were the days when they were smashing Coventry by 4-0 away from home and failing to beat them at Ewood Park. I mean, some questions have got to be answered about Blackburn, really. And Coventry were the better side in the opening stages of the game. McCallum had a cross which came off the crossbar, so it was a bit of a let-off for Blackburn in the beginning of the game. But maybe supposedly against the run of play, Blackburn did take the lead, and it was from Ben Brereton. Sam Heim would be very disappointed if they didn't manage to clear the cross from Niambe, Wednesday, and I thought Blackburn could have gone forward and tried to score a couple more goals just to secure their victory. But for me, even with that goal, they didn't look like a side that they were going to really change that negative mindset they put on themselves and to really change their run of form. Adam Armstrong, yes, had a couple of chances, which were a little bit unlucky on his part, and Wilson was fantastic in goal. But Coventry looked the much more spirited of the two sides, and he eventually got their equaliser, and it was Matty James's first goal. Tyler Walker just absolutely brilliantly managing to head the ball back from across, and then Matty James manages to tap in the loose ball into the net, and that made it 1-1. Neil Ostergaard managed to get a second yellow vote, bringing down Adam Armstrong. Coventry did well to only get a player sent off in the 81st minute rather than the first 10 minutes. It's 6 points ahead of the relegation zone now for Coventry, which can be very, very crucial for them. And now we've seen the turnaround of Brentford Football Club. They managed to get a very narrow 2-1 victory over Stoke. I predicted the Blackburn game right, and also that game correctly as well. Stoke took the lead by completely comedic value, with David Raya literally giving the ball straight to Tommy Smith. He managed to square it to Jacob Brown with a very easy goal that made it 1-0. I mean, even with Jacob Brown barely scoring the amount of goals he has done, even he could have missed that one. So that made it 1-0 to Stoke. And Stoke did have a couple of chances actually. Raya did really well to redeem himself, managing to save a shot from Nick Powell. But then Brentford started to turn the screws. Simon Ghoddos was absolutely terrific, really testing gun in goal. Eventually, it was Vitaly Janelt that managed to get the equaliser. What a brilliant goal it was. Literally pinpoint position in the top corner. And from that moment onwards, you kind of had the feeling that Brentford were going to change the game. It was a bit disappointing from Stoke, because I thought in the first half, they were really good. They managed the game well, they had chances. But in the second half, they seemed very intimidated by Brentford. It was eventually Ivan Toney that managed to get the goal. Typical Ivan Toney style with his right foot. That made it 2-1 to Brentford. And following this, they're now second place. And following that, Watford and Swansea managed to lose this weekend as well. It puts them a 3-point gap against the challengers as well. But next game is big. They're playing against the only side ahead of them in the table. This could really be the season-defining game, and I'm so excited to see the result of it. I said I did a fantastic set of predictions, but I predicted this game to end as a 0-0 draw. How wrong was I? We had Luton 3, Sheffield Wednesday 2. Now, if there was any example of a game of two halves, this would be the game that you would look to. First half, we see the away side Sheffield Wednesday go 2-0 up with 2 Josh Windass goals. Josh Windass should have scored a hat-trick. He was 1-on-1 with one opportunity, and he dragged the effort wide. And Luton were poor in that first half, defensively shambolic. They did have chances in that first half, don't get me wrong with Luton Town, but they didn't even look like scoring. But how wrong was I in that second half? In that second half, there was an onslaught. The first 15 minutes, Luton from 2-0 down make it to 2-2. First one coming from Cal Naismith from a Kin and Dewsbury Hall corner. And 2-2 was a fantastic team goal from Adebayo, managing to do fantastically well on that left-hand side. He squares it to Tunnicliffe, literally unmarked. Sheffield Wednesday's defence was all over the place, and that made it 2-2. I don't know what Neil Thompson said to that side in that second half, because they really were poor. And Luton took full advantage and managed to get a third. And it was brilliant work by Cornick on the right-hand side, looping a fantastic cross. Then Elijah Adebayo just using his head, getting the ball into the net, and that made it 3-2 to Luton Town. I mean, Luton don't have a lot to play for. They're 14th place in the table. I don't think they're going to get relegated, in my opinion. I think there's too many teams below Luton at this point. As with Sheffield Wednesday, it's a really poor defeat for them, and you can see this as an opportunity lost for Sheffield Wednesday, honestly. The fact they were 2-0 up, and it would have really increased their chances of Sheffield Wednesday being outside of the bottom 3 as well. Following that, Birmingham have won this weekend. It doesn't look good for them. But their game in midweek against Yorkshire and relegation rivals Rotherham could just be the game that defines if Sheffield Wednesday have a chance to get out of this, honestly, because games are running out for them, and Sheffield Wednesday do not have many second chances now. Very saw Cardiff's winning streak take to an end as Neil Warnock gets revenge against his old club with a 1-1 draw. And honestly, I think it was the deserved result, actually. If anything, I think Middlesbrough deserved to win if you looked at the stats, actually. But it was Cardiff, the team in form, that did take the lead. It was a typical Will Wilks throw, and Sean Morrison being the only one to win the header. managing to belittle everyone, including Bettinelli in goal. That made it 1-0 to Cardiff. And I thought this was going to be typical Cardiff, you know, managing the game well, limiting the opposition to chances, and getting another win for Mick McCarthy. It would have been their 7th straight win if they managed to do so. But Middlesbrough really had a fire in their belly, and they were really determined to get something. They really felt up for this game, actually. Asoma Longa had a couple of chances, and Dylan Phillips looked sharp once again in goal. But they did manage to get their goal, and it was from Paddy McNair, literally in the final 10 minutes of the game. So Cardiff did so well to manage the game until then, and it was actually fantastic work on the right-hand side. It was really disappointing though from Aidan Flint, who fails to clear the ball in the box. The ball just kind of deflects all around the box, and eventually finds Paddy McNair, who's in the right place at the right time to tap the ball in, and that made it 1-1. This result doesn't really help either side really, because now they're both outside of the top 6, but both are within a matter of points distant from that top 6 place. It's a bigger blow to Cardiff really, because following that Bournemouth managed to win this weekend, they've now managed to overtake them, and they've got a little bit of a gap from them now. But if Cardiff can continue to be unbeaten for as long as they are, I think Cardiff have got any chance. And Preston pick up their 2nd win in 6 games with a comfortable 3-0 victory. I say comfortable, it's a little bit harsh on Huddersfield's part, because in the first 20 minutes, Huddersfield, I thought, were terrific. And actually, they had a couple of penalty appeals, but you could argue probably should have been given. The one on Andrew Hughes and Fraser Campbell, I'm still debating whether if it was right not to give a penalty for. Benza had chances for Huddersfield, and Iverson was fantastic in goal. But it was Brad Potts that got the first goal for Preston. It was a terrific pass actually by Ched Evans, who I thought was really good in this game. It's the best game I've seen Ched Evans play for Preston actually. Through ball managing to fit into Brad Potts, who scores his first goal in over a year. I think as soon as Preston scored, Huddersfield just looked defeated, and that's really concerning, because that is definitely the characteristics of a team low on confidence if they cannot get the self-belief to pick themselves up and to get back into games. It's a really, really deep-rooted problem with Huddersfield really. And Preston just took full advantage, and they scored 2 goals in the second half. The first one from Ched Evans, who did deserve a goal based on his performance. And then the third goal was just absolutely scintillating from Iverson, starting things off into Evans, who does a delightful pass, finding Tom Barkhuizen on the left, and he does a delightful cross to find Scott Sinclair, who shoots a very powerful shot past Sheffield. And that made it 3-0 to Preston. Puts them 13th place in the table, and I don't think they'll get top 6 or get relegated, so I think Preston will just aim to finish as high up the table as they could. It's not great form for Huddersfield, and if they don't win another game ASAP, they can almost start sleepwalking into that relegation battle, and they don't want to be in that position. And then at last we go to an away win. This is actually our first away win this weekend, and it went to the hands of Reading, who get a crucial 1-0 victory, which strengthens their chance to be in the top 6. Goal scrappy to say the least. Ball looks like it just crossed past the line from Michael Morrison, and it was from a set piece as well. And actually both of these sides created the opportunities, especially in the first half, pretty much from all set pieces, corners, free kicks. So it was a pretty interesting game to compare to see which side were going to look the more threatening from the set pieces. Omar Richards had a drive which was very well saved by Johansson actually. Semedo had a chance which he probably should have done better. Lucas João had 2 big chances, especially one of the counter-attacks Reading had. Lucas João tries to chip and it goes horribly wrong. João's just really frustrated, and I can definitely see it in his face right now. In the final 5 minutes, Rotherham really put the pressure on Reading as Reading sat back a little bit. Ben Wiles had a shot which was deflected, looking like it actually went in, but it went just wide, and that was the final whistle, and Reading held on for the 3 points. As I said with Sheffield Wednesday, that game is going to be big in midweek. I think whoever wins this game will give themselves a chance of survival. Whichever team loses really has a huge setback that they need to overturn as soon as they can. And then the Nigel Pearson hype train continues for Bristol City as he ensures back-to-back 3-1 wins against playoff challenging Middlesbrough and promotion challenging Swansea City. This is the first time Swansea have conceded 3 goals at home. And honestly, it was a performance that really took me by surprise. Swansea, if you look at those stats, I mean, look at them. Absolutely ridiculous. 21 shots they had. So it just goes to show that stats don't normally tell you the story of a result. And that's a great example of that. In the first half, Swansea came agonizingly close to getting the goal, as it looked like that the ball nearly crossed the line, but it didn't quite cross the line for Swansea. Second half, they got a very early goal from a penalty, from a handball from Casey Palmer, which I think was a little bit harsh, but I think it did strike his arm. But Bristol City did not feel sorry for themselves. Their equaliser goal was fantastic work. A huge shout out to Zach Viner, who robs the ball and drives forward from Mark Gueye, and he manages to square the ball to find Naki Wells, who's in great confidence right now, to make it 1-1. The second goal was from a Casey Palmer corner. Literally, Casey Palmer taking the corner and it goes into the net. We've seen a couple of these goals. Whether he meant it, probably not, but it's a fantastic goal by Casey Palmer. And then to make matters worse for Swansea's sake, Freddie Woodman takes one too many touches on the ball. Semenyo robs it off in, and that made it 3-1. Huge blow for Swansea, following the fact that Watford lost this game and the fact that Brentford won this game. They definitely missed an opportunity to continue putting the pressure on to Brentford. We saw what Mick McCarthy has done with Cardiff, with a new manager and a new identity into the club. We'll see if Nigel Pearson can repeat that sort of form with Bristol City. And then the final game, which was yesterday's game, it was Norwich collecting a 2-0 victory against Wycombe, which was another game I got spot on and correct. And it was definitely a deserved win for Norwich's part. 72% possession, 19 shots. It was definitely very, very dominant to Norwich's part. It was Norwich that eventually in the second half managed to get their goal. It was pretty scrappy, I won't lie. It was Timo Pukki that managed to get the goal. And the game was game, set and match when Adam Ida tapped in a goal that made it 2-0 to Norwich. It's encouraging performance once again from Norwich. They're managing to get wins with 5 wins in a row now. Their first goal was absolutely terrific, especially by Kenny McLean, actually, the way he managed to switch the play from right to left and finding Ono Hernandez. It was just unbelievable work from him. And as I said, the midweek game, Norwich-Brentford, could really be a season-defining game. And as with Wycombe, unfortunately, I think they are going to get relegated. They are cut adrift from pretty much a lot of those teams. Both Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham drop points when they play against each other midweek. Then maybe Wycombe can close the gap on them. That might make things a little bit interesting, although ideally with Wycombe's part, they're going to need a win. And after only winning 5 games in 32, unfortunately, you wouldn't really back that with his Wycombe side. But that wraps it up for my reaction. As you can see on the left-hand side is the current championship table. So we've got Norwich and Brentford in the top 2 places. We've got Watford, Swansea, Reading and Bournemouth making up the top 6 places. We are then followed by the playoff challenges in Barnsley, now in 7th. Now we've got Cardiff, Middlesbrough, Stoke, Bristol City and Millwall challenging for playoffs. Then for the sides in the bottom half, we've got Preston, Luton, Blackburn, Nottingham Forest with pretty much nothing to play for. Then Queensborough Rangers, Derby, Huddersfield, Coventry and Birmingham, the teams fighting relegation. And then we've got Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday and once again Wycombe in the bottom 3. So before we go on with the midweek predictions, I'll go through my player of the weekend, result of the weekend and goal of the weekend. Goal of the weekend, I'm going to give it to Colin Kazim Richards' volley. Brilliant goal from his part. Player of the weekend's tricky in my opinion, but I'm actually going to give it to Ched Evans. You might think, why on earth am I giving it to Ched Evans? He was practically involved with all 3 of the goals. Obviously, he scored one of them, assisted the first one, and started the move for the final goal for Preston with that much of an impact to Preston's striker role where they've struggled to score goals this season. I've got to give my player of the weekend to Ched Evans. And finally, the result of the weekend, there were plenty to pick from. I'm edging it to Luton 3, Sheffield Wednesday 2 to be 2-0 down, but then to make it back to 3-2, the 3 goals in the second half alone. Unbelievable performance. So I'm going to give my result of the weekend to Luton 3, Sheffield Wednesday 2. But before we end this video, now it's the midweek predictions. Let's start predicting these games. So as always, we'll start in the Championship. Cardiff and Derby is really tight. I don't really know really, but I think Cardiff could edge Derby. I'm going to say 2-1 Cardiff. Coventry, Middlesbrough. Coventry been performing well. Middlesbrough gave a good account of themselves against Cardiff. I say maybe a 1-1 draw. I think both sides will cancel each other out. Huddersfield and Birmingham is a huge game, actually. I'm actually going to give a bit of a shock result because we've seen a couple of shock results this weekend. I'm going to say for a midweek shock, 2-1 Birmingham. Why not? Millwall, Preston. I either see a Preston win or a 1-1 draw. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think that's the result we tend to see with Millwall. Nottingham Forest and Luton, KG. I don't really see many goals in this game. I think maybe Forest might edge this one. I'm going to say 1-0 Forest, although they have only scored 1 goal in their last 3 home games. So we'll see if Chris Hughton can get some goal-scoring impetus in that Nottingham Forest squad. Then Reading and Blackburn. You don't see the normal result with this fixture. You know, we had a 6-goal thriller last time. It was a 4-2 away victory to Reading. I'm going to say another mad result. I'm going to say a 2-2 draw. I think both these sides will go for it. Norwich and Brentford. This is the big one. I really am either giving a Norwich win or a draw. And I think I'm going to give a 1-1 draw. I really can't separate them. Crystal Rangers and Barnsley. I'm going to say narrow 2-1 away win to Barnsley. Barnsley just doing really well at the moment. Watford and Wycombe. Watford, of course, missing João Pedro and Chalobah for this game, but I still think they'll win. I'm going to say 2-0 to Watford. Bristol City and Bournemouth. Why not? We'll see Bristol City win 3 games in a row with Nigel Pearson. I'm going to say 2-1 Bristol City. We'll see what happens in that one. Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham. Now, this took me a long time to decide. Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham have only won once in their last 6 games. I'm going to edge Wednesday, you know. I actually think they may edge this one. I'm going to say 2-1 Sheffield Wednesday. And finally, Stoke and Swansea, I'm going to say a narrow 2-0 away victory to Stoke. And now on the left-hand side of the screen, of course, are my Premier League predictions. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you get a correct score, your comment will be included and you'll be given a shout out. But that wraps it up for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. 20 likes would be fantastic for this video. Please make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. We want to try and push for 500 and 1,000 subscribers. All of that would really make my day. And please share my channel to as many people as you can. Also, I've got to give a shout out. I almost forgot to Cardiff City fans US for shouting out my channel. I've included the screenshot here. I don't know which one is your actual YouTube channel, but if you do let me know, I'll subscribe to that channel as well. Thank you so much, man, for showing me on your stories. Truly appreciate it. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, take care, everyone.